You're welcome to this webinar stroke interview on how to win Japanese government Mext Scholarship. This is about the second webinar we are having. The past 30 days or so. The first was on how to attract funding to grow your business, and we are talking about how to win a scholarship. So at After School Africa, it's our duty. What we do is to expose people to opportunities out there, be it business related, education related. And so today we have someone who has walked the talk. So it's not a theory. We don't do theory. This is about a practical experience. So Ayodeji Lucky, who is, I would want to say you're lucky, but I believe you went through the process. And they say success is when opportunity meets preparation. So you kind of were prepared, and then a little luck here and there. So your name did play out for you somehow. So it's good to have you, Ayodeji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ayodeji Lucky, as he has said. So I'm so happy. I'm very, very glad to be here tonight. And I hope by the end of everything, future applicants or future scholars will be able to learn one or two things. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we'll get right to it and without wasting time. So I'm going to throw on the questions. This is how we're going to go. I have a couple of questions for you. I asked them. And some of the questions, if I see that you've already answered them in the course of responding to the previous one, then we'll just keep that. And when we are done, then we'll allow people in the room to ask any questions they have. Hopefully, we'll be able to get through with this in the next 60 minutes. Hopefully.
Okay, sir.
Okay. All right. So let's start with, tell us, how did you manage to win this scholarship? And while responding to that, tell us who is our Ayodeji Lucky.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for the question. Tonight, I have a lot of things to say, but I will try to be as brief and as fast as possible, and I'll make sure everybody understand. First of all, like I'm from a low socio-economic background, so like the thought of studying abroad, like it is something that once looked impossible. But after my high school education, I went online to make some findings. I went to platforms like After School Africa. I read a lot of students' success stories. So when there was a story I read about a guy that his family was even poorer than my family. I was like, so if people can actually make this, I too can make it. So I started with Mext Japanese Scholarship. It was not so easy at first because there was little to no information about the scholarship. So not only, I'm sorry, before I'm actually a little bit nervous, but before that, when I was making my findings then in 2015, I realized there are several scholarships, like there are types of scholarships. Now, there are some scholarships that are fully funded, which means you are not going to pay anything. You are not going to pay a dream. Your flight, student monthly stipend, everything will be taken care of. Then there are some other scholarships that it will only cover a certain percent. Then I realized that there are some countries that for should I say poor students, there are some countries that they are like no-go area. For instance, countries like United Kingdom, United States, a student that will be going for undergraduate study, we have to sit for SAT, IELTS. So as I was saying, everything started in 2016. I really wanted to study outside the country, but judging by my family financial status, it looked impossible. But after I made some researches, I found out some students that came from even poorer background, they were able to make their way out. So I learned a lot from their stories. For instance, I read a lot about stories of people on Africa, After School Africa's website. So I was really motivated by their stories. So I started looking for scholarships, and I realized that there are different types of scholarships. There are some scholarships that you won't pay a penny, like they will cover the flight, they will cover everything. like there's some those scholarships are the best for poor students like me. Then there's some other scholarship that they will only cover the tuition fee. That means you'll be the one to pay for your flight. Then the other scholarship that they will only cover a certain percent. So since I know where I'm coming from, I didn't bother to apply for any scholarship that won't cover that won't be, I didn't bother to apply for non-fully funded scholarships. So then I started making my findings on fully funded scholarship. Then I saw Japanese government scholarship. I saw Turkey Bursary scholarship, Federal Scholarship Board, bilateral education agreement. I saw Stipendium Anglicum. I saw Hungary Christian scholarship. Then I saw Korean government scholarship program. So I saw a lot like that. Then I started by making findings on each of these scholarships. Then I realized there are some scholarships that are fully funded, but they required standardized examinations like SAT and IELTS. But this exam, there was no way I could afford the cost of registering for the exam then. So I didn't bother myself in that area. Then I focused on scholarships that are fully funded and that they don't require any standardized examination. So Japanese government scholarship is one of them. You don't have to sit for SAT. You don't have to sit for any standardized examination before you can get the scholarship. So I applied for the first time in 2016. Then I didn't make the first screening, which was the document screening. Then second time I applied again, I didn't make this document screening too. So I was not called for the exam. And I was really prepared. Then the third time, after making findings, surfing the internet, then I gave my best in the application and I got selected for the examination. Then I went for the exam, and during my time of application, I was a student at Obafemi Awolowo University. So it was not so easy for me because in OAU I was on first class. So even OAU on its own is not one easy university. Then preparing for scholarships, preparing for external scholarship exams too is another thing entirely. So I made use of my time. Like during the holiday, I don't used to go home. I would stay on campus, prepare for my exams in advance. Then in 2019, the third time I applied, I got to the exam and we wrote the exam. The exam lasted for like 8 to 9 hours, and everything was Japanese standard. So, but before then, I realized people don't normally make this scholarship. Like Nigerians don't make this scholarship. Then it was when I wrote the exam, I found out that the exam is entirely different from the examination syllabus is entirely different from what we do in Africa. Like for instance, in Japan, they don't use calculator and they require you thinking critically. Unlike what we do in Africa, that like with formula you can get the answer. But yeah, they don't really use formula. You will think, their questions require critical thinking. Then after that, I was able to pass the examination. Then I did the interview. So after that, I waited for like 4 months. Result came, I didn't make it. So it was a very devastating period for me. And when the result came out, it was during my exam in OAU in December. Like it was so serious. Then 2020, I applied again for the fourth time. COVID-19 came, it was cancelled for undergraduate in Nigeria. Then I didn't give up, but I nearly gave up because I was already in theory level in OAU, and I had 2 years to complete my degree in OAU. And my plan in OAU was to graduate on first class, and it was becoming more difficult for me. So I already made my plan that I'm going to apply again one more time. Then if I don't get it, then I will continue after my post-graduation. So in 2021, I applied again. I was already in further level in OAU. So I passed the first stage, I passed the second stage, the third stage, and I made the scholarship, and now I'm in Japan.
Yeah. Awesome story there. So in total, you applied 4 times, 3 or 4 times?
5 times.
5 times. And
Yes.
you kept at it. Why didn't you give up? What was your source of motivation? What kept you going to see through it? Because a lot of people would have given up at some point, probably at the 3rd time or the 4th time, but you went all through until you got it. And again, if you didn't get it the 5th time, would you have gone again for it?
Before I applied the 3rd time, after the first time, before I applied the 3rd time, I already made enough findings. Like in anything I do, I seek information first. So I can spend as long as possible on information, because I believe when I have the right information, I won't, like, the problem is solved. Like there is a saying that when you are not informed, you will not perform, then you'll be deformed. So I already had almost all the information required to be successful as regard the scholarship. Like when I realized the examination was difficult, then I thought, how can I pass this examination? Then I realized countries in Asia, like they have high success rate in the examination. Then I thought of getting their textbooks, but the issue of language was a big barrier. Then I went online to search for India textbook, because India speak English and they teach their subject in English. So I got some textbooks, some India textbooks. Then it has similar syllabus with Japanese textbook. So I studied India textbook for the math examination and physics. So I already had information, and when I read about other people's stories too, like I just had this inbuilt motivation in me that, like, that if people can make it, I too can make it. So I didn't give up. So I think that is, the motivation was so, even I remember there was a time in 2020 when I was applying, when I was doing the health certificate test, my money finished. I had to post it on my status that I want to sell my phone. So I wanted to usher my phone out so that I could get money to finish the application. So the motivation was so massive in me. Like I already saw myself studying in Japan years ago. Like so.
Okay, so is it safe to say that the more you applied for scholarship, the better you got at it, right?
Yes. And even okay. I did not only try Mext Scholarship. I tried so many other scholarships. I tried so many other scholarships that I even went for the interview. So I already had so many experiences. So like I saw the scholarship as I found it very, very easy. Yes. So I was like, I can make this thing. I can make it. But when the challenges were much, it was very difficult for me. But I knew I can make it, so I didn't give up.
Okay. So how did you deal with because I know you had the option of applying through embassies or through university. Which of the options did you apply with?
Japanese government scholarship has 2 tracks, the embassy and the university track. But for the undergraduate scholarship, it is majorly through the embassy. Okay. Yeah. So
and how was the experience like?
Okay. Mext Scholarship. Embassy. Okay. Mext Scholarship releases application in April of every year. But in some countries, like maybe in some African countries, they normally delay the application to May. So I can say in Nigeria embassy releases application May of every year. So then the application period normally takes like a month, though they may later extend it to 2 weeks, but it normally takes a month. So when I before I applied, I already read the guideline, and I knew almost everything offhand in the guideline. I understood the guideline very well. So then I got all the required documents. Then I did the necessary things because they require certification a lot. Like I took my WAEC copies, the copies of my WAEC result to court for authentication. Then after I submitted all the document to the embassy, then I waited for like 6 weeks. Then that was the time it took like 2 months for them to call people for exams. So in between 6 weeks and 2 months, so the application is in May, then deadline June, then the exam is in late July or early August.
Okay.
So then after the exam in August, then they release result the second or the third day at night. Then the following week, interview odds. Then after that, a month after, they release the result of people that passed the interview. Then 4 months after, in December or January, they release the final result. Then April the next year, successful applicant come to Japan.
What was the major challenge you had to go through to eventually get the scholarship? What would you consider was the biggest hurdle that you had to skip to eventually get it in the course of the application?
The application was very stressful for me because one of the requirements is health certificate, and on the health certificate paper, there are so many tests one needs to undergo. So I had to be going to hospital almost every week to do all the tests. So and after that, waiting for the first result was not really easy because Japanese embassy receive thousands of applications every year, and they only call less than 100 for exam out of like 1,000 applicants. For instance, in 2019, 1,300 and something applied for undergraduate, and 57 were invited for the exam. So it's a very competitive scholarship in Nigeria. And as we all know, in Nigeria, almost all students wanted to leave the country. So the competition is very, very intense. So I will be saying that people that will be applying next year should make sure they don't make any mistake, because the embassy rejects application at the slightest mistake. So I found the health certificate very, very challenging. Then preparing for the exam too was very, very challenging for me because the questions were very, very difficult. I had to study for months. But that does not mean I'm not scaring anybody. That does not mean people cannot pass. If I could actually
you did mention that you had to get some textbooks based on Indian curriculum. So can you tell us, give us some details on that?
Yes, I found out that there's an exam in India called IIT JEE. Like it's an exam to their tech school. So the examination is very, very difficult. And when I found out that, I realized it's other than Mext Scholarship entrance examination. And most of the questions in Mext Scholarship past papers are like related questions can be found inside in their textbooks. So I went online. There is this popular website where students can download textbook freely. I can type it in the chat box. So I went there, www.pdfdev.net. So I searched IIT JEE mathematics textbooks. So I downloaded calculus, geometry, or algebra. So I found it very, very useful. Then I was able to solve all the past questions. So I think after solving that, the examination became very, very easy for me.
And that's interesting. And what would you say was your strongest point that made your application stand out from? You mentioned that about 1,000 something people applied in 2019 and only 57 were invited. So there has to be something about the applicants that gives them the advantage over other applicants. So what would you say was the thing that played out in your own case, apart from the academic performance?
Okay. I think the application form, my application form itself, because due to my success at the exams, I got access to a lot of information at the embassy. So I asked them questions that why do people, like, how do they select people for the first stage? Then I realized something. The man said there are some questions on the application form, like they ask, how can you bridge the relationship between Japan and Nigeria, like, and your home country together? Then they ask some questions like, why Japan? Like, why do you want to study in Japan? Then they ask some questions like, why do you choose this field of study? So the man said there's some students that they put there that they choose Japan because of anime. Like, so the man, like, so the man said, yes. So the man said, so many students put that in their application that they choose that Japan is so, like, artistic, that they love the anime so much, so something like that. So the man said once he come across that he does not even care, that he will just separate the student's application. So that means rejection. So I can say they put much emphasis on the application form itself. Like, the application form has different columns, sizes. Like, they expect students to fill it up. They expect students to fill it up. For instance, the box where they ask, where do you want to study, your choosing field of study, is much more bigger than what was your high school major. So they expect people to put a very concrete conviction, a very concrete response. Yeah, even when I came here, because I'm still in language school currently, and after a year, I'll be going to my school. So when I came here, the month I came here, one of my teachers asked me, like, why did you choose robotics? That they'll be sending me to my school so that they can start making some preparations. So what I thought was the best, they rejected it. Like, my teacher rejected it. She was like what, like, they I don't know, like, what image do you have? What do you want to do? Like, what, until I wrote that I wanted to do something like a robot. Like, I wanted to do something like an insect in case we have any building collapse in Nigeria, so that we can program it so that it can go inside the crevice of the collapsed building and search for life. So that was when she eventually accepted my letter then. So Japan is a very advanced in technology. Like, there is a very it's very, very advanced in technology. Like, when I came here, I saw technology in its purest form. I was so amazed. Like, coming here, the toilet, you don't even need to, like, just press one button and everything just place and flush. Like, they really make life so easy with their technology. So I will say future students should put in their best in the application form. Like, they should stop saying we are going to Japan. Like, I like Japan because of their anime or some other less.
You like the samurai sword. Did you write an essay for the scholarship?
An essay?
Scholarship essay.
Like, the application form as I didn't write any separate essay, but the application form has some questions that that the response are like essay like